Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin. So Giants.
Yeah.
It's a thing we talk about.
You know, they're somehow worse than we thought they were gonna be.
I had so many things to say right off the top. First is we can quote one of our favorite Scandinavian bands of all time, the Hives, right? What was that? What was their favorite song? What was the chorus?
Told you
Hate
so.
to say I told you so, right?
All
We
right.
did that. And then I was also planning if TJ did the normal intro where he's like, "How you guys doing?" I was going to say, "Thanks for asking, TJ. I'm actually really full. I've just been eating it all up. I've been eating up all of the tidbits, all of the facts, just exploring what we've been saying for 4 years about how bad Daniel Jones is, in fact. And I've just been eating it up. I'm so full, but I could keep going. I'm going to eat myself to death. I'm like the 7 sins. I'm like gluttony. I'll just keep eating all of this. It feels
like Wu-Tang?
Like I feel crazy. I just feel like a crazy
you?
person because maybe people are agreeing with. I haven't seen anything that says he's good, so that's or no one's making excuses for him anymore. So I feel a little bit good about that.
Well, there's the only excuse that anyone's been leaning on is, well, what about the play calling?
Get the fuck.
That's because they can't actually run a real.
They can't call any plays
because
you
Daniel Jones is too stupid.
You can't do them.
Run an NFL offense.
Yeah.
How many pros came out this week and said they run a high school offense?
Everyone.
Yep.
I mean, what do you have one of the most creative? It's like you got these things. You got like one of the most creative offensive minds in the NFL, or at least he used to be. Can't use any of his skills. You got the best defensive player in the league. Doesn't matter. You got one of the best left tackles. Doesn't matter. Now you got upper third pass protection. Doesn't matter. There's one common factor.
Yep. Well, we did say that. We did say like that was going to be the obvious thing. It was going to.
Yeah, but any good team shouldn't need everything else to be proven not the problem to realize that the quarterback's the problem when it's been glaringly obvious that he's been the problem since like season 2 of 6.
It's just miraculous, that some people are just finally starting to wake up that it's actually Daniel Jones is bad at quarterback. We've been saying it, as Dan said, we've been saying it since the start of this podcast. And I've been, any number of countless tweets defending that position against the stands on Twitter, the BBU Podboys of the Z. It sucks.
You're saying check the receipts, TJ? You're saying check the...
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that we suck, but it feels good to like at least, I knew the Giants were going to be bad. I didn't have any expectations going through this season. I'm sure next week they'll beat Washington and Daniel Jones will look a little bit better, and then everyone will be like, he's not that bad.
I don't know. That was a performance like all the other teams in the league have to do is watch the film from this past Sunday and then just replicate it on defense. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, what was the MO on this defensive game plan? They inversed the 49ers game plan against them last year, where the 49ers showed soft coverage, then brought more people. They showed a lot of pressure and then dropped guys back. And he just like, could you think of a more basic form of, sort of trickery on defense? And he cannot wrap his brain around it.
What was the one tweet you sent over? Which player on the Vikings was basically saying we were feeling bad for him?
Green, what's his name?
Greenard or
linebacker.
Something? Yeah, the linebacker. Like you've never even seen that. I've never heard anyone say we actually felt bad for the guy. You don't ever hear that.
Yeah, he was like, our plan worked so perfectly, so right away that we felt bad that he couldn't overcome it.
It's like, yeah, they shouldn't have had any points.
He was like, within the first 2 possessions, we knew he couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, that's nothing new. Like there's been, I sent the thread tweet of all the other people that had just played Daniel Jones and their reactions to playing him. I don't know. I think the thing I'm most interested in following, and we could probably wrap the pod after this, is funny enough whether or not he has the beard next week. Because if he shaves it, then it's like, he shaved it. He's back. and then he still
That's
sucks,
what? Yeah.
then there's no more excuses. If he sucks without the beard now, that's the last excuse. Because right now, I'm surprised there's not somebody, Ralph Vacchiano saying, well, the beard got in his way. He couldn't think. He couldn't see with the beard in his face.
It's not the beard's fault that he can't think. It's nothing to do with the beard.
Are you sure? Because you can't rule it
Pretty
out.
sure.
You can't rule it out. Maybe give him another year to figure out the facial hair. Let's give him another year for facial hair.
I think we at least need to give him another maybe they should give him an extension to his contract.
Now. Do it now.
Yeah.
And hair extensions. Let's get maybe long hair.
Hair.
Maybe get something like Colin, get a little flow coming out the back.
I think that might
Gardner
be it.
Minshew.
Yes, he needs.
Then his ceiling could be Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
And we could sign him to a record-setting contract.
Oh, wait. Okay, so Gardner Minshew's what, like 6 foot, 5'11", maybe tops.
Little ass boy.
Okay, so I think
6
we
to
have
6'1".
Daniel go through some surgery to become shorter because he needs
Leg
to be
reduction,
shorter.
yeah.
Yeah, like Gardner Minshew, and then that's what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Mhm.
Do they do brain transplants? Because perhaps that would be the best way for him to succeed in the NFL.
There is a point in time where, and I'm starting to see some of these articles about how he is a broken player in general. And there may have been times in the last 6 years where there was a chance where he could have been developed at least a little bit more than what he is now. And it's so far gone that whatever positivity that he showed on that one playoff game against these Vikings 2 years ago is completely gone. It's gone.
I agree with that because, even when he has pass protection and has a pocket, he is scared. He's scared to death. I mean, maybe, I don't know if it's the David Carr syndrome.
Derek Carr. David Carr.
Older brother, Houston Texans, first quarterback.
Destroyed.
And, they just sacked the shit out of that guy until he couldn't play football anymore. Former Giant, actually, too, if I remember.
Yeah, won a ring.
But yeah, I mean, Jones had protection at times. I mean, the line looked much better than it usually does, especially in pass protection. Dude, ran into sacks. Didn't throw the ball downfield at all. I don't think he threw the ball more than 20 yards at all. Just all dump passes. And, if you want to blame the play calling, the only thing I'm blaming the play calling is that they threw the ball 42 times. But when you're, in a deficit the entire game, you're going to have to throw the ball.
Yes.
So it is what it is. It's
when they're challenging you to throw the ball every play because they know you can't.
Do you guys recall ever being a time where you would see the stats after a game where they talk about how many sacks the quarterback alone created? Because I've never seen that before.
I mean, he was running into sacks. It just made no sense. Like he has no pocket presence whatsoever.
And he had time. That one video that Chase Daniel was talking about is just like I'm looking at it. All the time in the world, he can throw it to anyone. He's throwing into double coverage. He's got people open over here. He has no interest in looking at anything other than
he doesn't do reads. He does one read.
Well, yeah, and he also, when he throws those passes, he doesn't throw them where they're supposed to go. That pass was a probably ill-advised pass, but he could have put it out in front of him and gave a chance at it. He threw it behind him. I was watching the Theo Johnson highlights of his 4 targets, and every single one was like at his ankle or behind him. He does shown zero ability to throw the ball where the player wants it. Occasionally, he'll throw behind someone and it'll work out because there's coverage in front of him. He probably shouldn't have been throwing that direction, and the receiver will make like a move back, and it'll be he showed it, he threw it outside. But I'm not sure that was intentional.
No.
He certainly throws it high in the air, which is crazy.
Yeah, he does that. Yeah, that throw to Wandell when we were in the red zone, and he just
he's gonna get these guys killed, man.
Yeah,
that's what I said. We said that preseason. He's like, my number one concern for Malik Neighbors is that he's going to get his broken in half. My new theory is he might be worse with time to think. I think his success happened when he couldn't think, and it was either throw the first read or run, and no one knew he could run. So that's when he was good his first season. And then Dable figured out how to utilize his very primal skills. And now that he has time to think, he's outthinking himself.
It's funny you should say that because I heard a little snippet of Golden Tate. Golden Tate was saying, he's just like, I think it's possible he's too smart for his own good, which was a real nice way of basically saying, no, he's stupid, and now he can't play anymore. Wait, there's nothing better than what Janoris Jenkins has been doing. He's been retired for a year or two. He's 35 years old, and he feels like going scorched earth. My former teammate, Dan the Doo-Doo Man. Like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I can't believe we didn't think of that.
I know.
That's so obvious.
Yeah.
I feel like we're a
How
little bit
many
more
times-
sophisticated than that, Dan. You know, we could come up with we were calling Colt McCoy Danny Dimes. That's like up there. That's upper echelon.
That was
think
we
we
don't
can convince
do
him to
doo-doo,
unretire?
man. What's that?
Think we can convince him to unretire?
Us?
Yeah. No,
Like the
us, the
three
three
of
of us. Yeah.
Can we convince Daniel Jones to retire?
Can we find Colt McCoy's church group, infiltrate it, and get him to unretire before the end of the season?
Yes, I think.
Let's make a documentary. I was talking to PJ, and he has the worst ideas about football because every time he talks about football, I realize how little he knows. His solution was like, "Do you think we can get Russell Wilson?" It's like, Russell, what are we talking about? That's not a solution.
No.
Oh, by the
Jameis.
way, did you know that Russell
Jameis.
Wilson was actually inactive for the game, and he wouldn't be able to play, but still was on the sideline in full pads?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you should say that. It's funny you should say that because Tommy DeVito was called as an inactive player and he was in full uniform. So I was real confused about that.
Interesting. I wonder, guys, how long until we see Drew Lock, you think?
As soon as he's up, no.
See, I know we've been going back and forth, like texting about this. Like in my heart of hearts, pun intended. Like, I don't know, like the reality and the real smart thing to do, regardless of what happens, if he has 2 more games that were exactly like this one this past Sunday, he can't play anymore this year. He can't.
Can't play anymore at all.
No, I mean, like, do not even think about bringing him in unless a quarterback gets hurt in front of him. But here's the thing. John is not going to allow that to happen. He is the last person that's going to not allow Dable to take him out.
I mean, I wanted to ask this later, but let's just say who really is to blame for this whole situation? Why is this team so bad? Is it Joe Shane? Is it Brian Dable? Is it John Mara? Is it Daniel Jones? Is it a combination of those things? I mean, ultimately, Joe Shane, I think the Daniel Jones contract is the biggest problem with the team. And that's a Joe Shane or John Mara. Do you think John Mara has his hands all over it?
Yes, I do. I think that if Shane had his way, it's tough because he was staring that playoff win in his face. And it was right in the worst friggin' time that you could possibly have it. Because it was like, all right, well, we don't have a quarterback. We made the playoffs. We won a playoff game. Our draft pick that year was whatever it was, later on. There was no quarterback going to be had. He was kind of put with his back against the wall. So like
it was his first year as GM.
Yep.
And I mean, we saw how vocal Mara was about the Saquon thing. I imagine he was twice as vocal about Daniel Jones, a guy they invested their 6th pick in a couple years back to try to salvage the decision-making he made in the 4 years prior. I'm sure he put some pressure on him to do it. I think my assumption is Dable was like, we need to get someone else. But he, as we saw in Hard Knocks, doesn't push things too far. I mean, he'll eventually cede to Joe Shane. And I think Joe Shane was, banking on Daniel Jones not regressing year after year after year and building a team around him. And then, when the contract came out, we hated it, but we did like that he can get at it after 2 years.
Exactly.
I don't think we thought he would get worse each year, though.
I think they're flabbergasted outright. Like, you see the look on Dable's face in the press conference. He looks like a beaten man, a defeated man.
Yeah. Well, this is my question now. I think there's only one way to do this, but I'll put it to you guys. What is the path for Brian Dable to make it out of the season without getting fired with Daniel Jones, without Daniel Jones getting injured?
Sitting Daniel Jones and coaching up Drew Lock to being a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Exactly. That's the only way, right?
100%.
That's it. That's the only way we can get out of the season.
Because you don't think Mara's going to let them go have 3 wins and then not fire anyone if just period, right? Like he's going to do it.
It's a bad precedent that we've been setting over the past years. New
he
York is
shouldn't.
now a place to end your career. You go here and end your career, end your head coaching career.
That
your
meme,
GM
right,
career.
with Daniel Jones as the Grim Reaper knocking on all the doors.
Yeah, I mean, for real. Show me who's had success since Daniel Jones has been the quarterback of the Giants.
Well, here's a question
It's a revolving door
for you guys. If he has one more game this Sunday against Washington, we lose again, and it's almost a mirror image game as this past one, does he sit next week?
He has to.
I think I might say he has to play the first 4 games, and he'll lose them all. But I feel like if he gets set after the first 2, that might open the door for him coming back later in the season. I think if he definitively we're 0-4 and he plays this level of football, then no one's going to be like, when Drew Lock sucks, put Daniel Jones back in. Like,
yeah,
we need like nothing's been definitive in this guy's career besides him sucking. They're going to need something like unequivocal about it.
Sucking the fun out of football.
You're probably right. I think 4 straight losses of like some of the worst quarterback play of all time will probably do it.
They're going to lose to 3 bad teams in the Vikings, the Redskins, and the Browns.
Who?
And then get embarrassed by the Cowboys.
Oh.
And then I think you can
suck. God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he seems to always beat Washington. So I'm scared that they're going to win next week. And this is just going to go on for longer than it has to. Because he needs to be on the bench. He needs to be holding the clipboard. And whether it's Drew Lock, I mean, even Tommy DeVito. I'll take Tommy DeVito. At least it's fun to some degree,
Well, it's a semblance of a grasp of the playbook and what Dable's trying to do, even with a limited physical aptitude in comparison. I mean, I don't know. I was sitting there with my dad at the game, and he started hating on some of the things that were happening with the defense, on what the defense was doing. And I was like, Dad, stop. I'm going to stop you right now. The only reason that you're going to see the defense look absolutely terrible this year is because they can't get off the field. So I'm going to give them a pass outright. I don't care how crappy the defensive backfield is. If you see those guys out there 3/4 of the time that the offense is out there, they're never going to succeed. And it doesn't matter what kind of players you bring in here. I didn't even give a crap about is Kayvon Thibodeau a bust? Like, everybody shut up. You're talking about the wrong things.
Yeah.
I don't care if he didn't have 1 tackle. I mean, yeah, it's not great. It doesn't look great. But, like, that's not the problem. Give the guy an opportunity to catch his breath so he can go out there and rush the passer again. He can't, because the offense is god-awful. I
mean, it's his performance, and you couple that with the Evan Neal, and then you look at the draft history of Joe Schoen, and the fan consensus is going to turn against him if Kayvon specifically doesn't start to play better. And I think once that happens, then the pressure is on John Mara to make a change, which I don't think they should do at this point, because I do have faith in Dable specifically. Shane, I'm a little worried at this point if he really is in over his head. He hasn't drafted well. I mean, Andrew Phillips is great. Tyler Newman, they both played great in that game.
Yeah.
Good picks this year, but it's always going to come back to Kayvon and Evan Neal, and we already know Evan Neal's a bust. And then you can also say, well, those guys were consensus top picks. Anyone would have taken those guys in those places, and sure, but no one's going to remember that. They're just going to look at the list of the guys who were drafted and say bust.
There's only one saving grace for Shane at this point, and he can lean, and Dable for that matter. They can say, we didn't draft Daniel Jones. You didn't give us an opportunity to get our quarterback. So why would you fire us? If John Mara fires them without giving them the opportunity to find their guy, shame on John. And that's why it starts with him. He can't get like scared of the media and then make a rash decision. Granted, he barely ever fires any coaches or GMs in midseason, so you won't even see that until the end of the year. But you can't. I don't think you can fire them, regardless of how this goes. It is so screwed up because our quarterback is so inept. It starts there. It has to.
Yeah. I feel like Daniel Jones has proved he's inept at every turn, but in a weird way, Dable's proved that he's very adept when he's given the chance, like when Jones goes down and then he makes Tyrod Taylor or Tommy DeVito look like serviceable. I mean, Tyrod Taylor is good, but he gets injured. But he makes Tommy DeVito win football games, which has the negative effect of putting us out of the running for an actual quarterback that can help him in the future, but proves to people in the know that that guy is a special talent as a coach. And it's just crazy how, but if things go the way they would in Giants world, because of his ability to coach up Tommy DeVito, puts him out for a quarterback that can change the franchise, forcing us to play Daniel Jones this season, tanking the season, and forcing him to get fired because Mara has to fire somebody for some unspoken reason. That'd be perfect. Then they draft a quarterback with a defensive head coach like Bill Belichick, who doesn't, who isn't gonna, or is probably gonna take a nose tackle with the first pick in the draft. I mean, it's gonna. I don't know. I
hate how realistic this scenario sounds. It's frightening.
I mean,
he's not going to go for another. He's not going to get what's his name, the offensive coordinator from the Lions to coach us. He's going to get Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells and run it back to 1986.
Yeah,
he's not going to continue to invest in offense.
That knee-jerk reaction and hiring the opposite style coach is like some of the dumbest shit of modern NFL nowadays. It's the dumbest shit. No, just hire better coaches. First off, don't fire good coaches because you need a scapegoat. Just allow these people to make some changes and actually get all of the players that they have been wanting to get. They were stuck with this guy. So I don't know. I don't know if John has the brain in his head or the patience to not fire either of them. And Dable would be the first to go, I would imagine. Right?
I guess.
I mean, if they're gonna fire one of them, they're gonna fire both of them.
But what a disaster that would be to start from square one again after 3 years of cleaning house finally. And like, granted, some of the picks haven't played out. I still think we forget about, not us, but I think the general public forgets about how much we had to rebuild the entire roster. The roster is still thin. There's still no depth, but I think you can start to see in 2-3 years, our secondary is probably going to be good.
Yeah.
Like Tay Banks and I guess you can't project Newbin and Phillips, but high draft, like they showed out pretty well. They played how you like to see. Those guys will be really good. Tay Banks, I don't think there's an argument that he'll be a solid number one cornerback in the league. You have arguably the best defensive player in the league in Dexter Lawrence. I, like you guys, I'm not willing to write off Kayvon. Brian Burns, I still think he's good, even though he had a lackluster game. I mean, there's pieces on the defense. The offensive line, they rebuilt sort of on the fly with a few journeymen and
it was good.
Andrew Thomas, and they looked, I would dare say better than average. Maybe they ranked out better than average. That's for sure this week. And you've got potentially a star wide receiver. Like, there are pieces here. If you were to fire the head coach, fire the GM, all the front office people go, the whole thing over again, we're wasting anything that's good that we have now on another 5-year plan. And
that's the saving grace, I think. I think that is what keeps John from actually doing it.
I don't think he has the stomach to do it anymore. He can't.
I don't think he can. I think he's so scared that he would not do it, and he also might have the sense to think like, all right, no, these guys, all right, someone's got to admit to a defeat on this quarterback, and if it started with him, it would be the most amazing thing. to just like have a little bit of we love the guy. He's a really, great leader. Everyone in the locker room loves him, but I think it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out here. Like, what's wrong with doing that? Honestly, like put your arrogance and your pride away. Just accept that it's possible that Dave Gettleman is a walking piece of shit who didn't know what he was talking about.
Dave Gettleman got 2 coaches, right?
Yeah,
he did.
So
yeah, but Dave Gettleman is such a John Mara legacy sort of pick to be in that position. So I mean, it makes sense that he let him, do this. I don't know. It's painful again. It's week 1. We're already
week 1, 0 expectations.
We're already, we already could talk about, is Quinn Ewers going to be the first overall pick? Are we going to get him? That's where my head's at now.
Well,
it's going to be a long
like,
season. It's going to be long season. God.
I mean, to add insult to injury, we missed last year's quarterback crop, which is yet to be proven, but not this year, not 2025, but the 2026 quarterback class looks like it's going to be amazing. And that's not we need to draft quarterback next year. Like, no questions asked.
I mean, I know it's early in the college football season, but I've already seen the tide turning a little bit with people's opinions on some of these quarterbacks.
Yeah. There's more interesting players, I think. But I think there are like potentially like incredible players in the 2026 class.
Yeah.
Arch.
Either way, like they're going to find somebody that could throw a football, I think.
Well, so here's the thing. Do we have to win too many games this year to keep this coaching staff and front office around so they can try to figure out a way to get one of those quarterbacks at some point?
I don't think they can fire the front office and the coaches this year. I think that they got to give them one more year.
Like automatic. Even if we don't win one friggin' game this year. I mean, I agree with you, but is that enough? Will that be enough to keep them around?
I don't know. I think we learned through Hard Knocks when we got to see a little bit more of John Mara that he is certainly listening. Like, he's in the comment section.
Yeah.
If every player in the NFL continues to come out and be like, your quarterback's doo-doo butter, like maybe something will get through to him and be like, I am hamstringing this entire franchise for the past 6 years because I like the cut of this guy's jib.
Yeah.
Like I hired a quarterback guru at Cascaredo.
Yeah, there's a big chapter where he talks about I like the cut of your jib. I just read it, so that's great.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
The horror. I want to talk about the booing of Daniel Jones and what you guys feeling about that.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I have no problem with it whatsoever.
I'm so down.
Yeah, I'm totally into it. I think he needs to hear it. I don't think all these people that are just like, oh, he's a human being. Yeah, who's really bad at his job, and we're all spending a lot of money to go watch him play.
That is the number one thing. They take time, they go to the game, they put a lot of effort into it. It's expensive as hell, and people want to see a decent product on the field, and this is what they get. And if you don't think that the fans have every right to boo the players and, heckle them outside the stadium, they're not heckling you, Dexter Lawrence. They're heckling Daniel Jones because he sucks.
Yeah, that was what the one thing that Dexter Lawrence ever said as a Giant. That was the dumbest thing. I saw that.
He said he understood why it was happening. I mean, if you don't understand why it's happening, then you're probably Daniel Jones and you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I come down and I have no problem with it. I'd boo him in the stands, but I wouldn't boo him face to face.
I wouldn't either.
I a little more,
You're classy, like a little classier than we are.
I don't know. I don't need to.
A lot of we don't. Have
he
time
knows
on
it
our
sucks.
hands for
If
that.
Daniel Jones walked into Teddy's Bar and Grill and said table for two, I would say get the fuck out.
Can you put a sign out front? Just
Daniel Jones not permitted.
No Daniel Jones need apply if he's trying to look for a job.
Yeah.
No, you know what? He'd
do not
be a
feed
great
this man and
dishwasher.
just a picture of him.
With like a cross through it.
Yeah.
That's actually funny. Maybe I should do that. I bet I could totally frame a picture of him, like just hide it somewhere
No
weird.
service.
Yeah. Like a business partner won't find it immediately and take it down.
I mean, what? Like, what is that going to turn customers away? Everyone.
It's just try to maintain the professionality of the restaurant.
But yeah, I mean, dude, he drove a hard bargain during the contract negotiations, leveraging his, 6 games during that season where he played above average.
Half of 6 games, more like it.
Did you see that thing that went around a couple of weeks ago? And they're like, everyone cites that season. And then he's like, he threw 15 touchdowns that year.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, maybe he could throw 15 touchdowns this season. That's what we're hoping for.
Great.
15 touchdowns. That's less than a touchdown a game.
Okay, he can throw 15 touchdowns, but he's going to throw 25 interceptions.
Yep.
Yeah, and get everyone injured.
I mean, actually, like, if you really look at the history of Jones, when he first came out, the turnovers were such a big deal. But he did look, people were saying he had a great deep ball and all that crap.
And it was his first year.
And then now, he's been, conditioned to not take the risk to keep the turnovers down. And then the result of that is that he doesn't throw the ball downfield at all.
You know what? There's an element that we're not touching on yet in regards to Dable's thought process with either sitting him or not. It's going. I don't care what the media or the media facing vocalizations from these players are. They may say, "Oh yeah, no, we're behind him. He's going to turn this around." Blah blah blah. John Runyon, not like whatever. I don't know what you're talking about. Whatever. But Dable knows the pulse of the locker room, and he will know real soon, if he doesn't know already, that if he continues trotting his ass out there, the players are going to tune out. They're going to be like, Malik Neighbors is going to, hey, agent, you got to get me the hell out of here as soon as possible if this continues. You can't have the number 1 guy you drafted that pissed off that early. That has to happen. And, Dable will go to John and be like, listen, the players don't want to play for him. He's going to have to say it. I can't coach a team with people with morale in the crapper. I need to give a spark to this after, say, 4 games. And I think that's the argument that he's going to have. He's like, John, I got to keep the locker room together. And they don't think this guy can do it. And it's pretty clear from the games that you're watching as you're throwing another chair on the ground in the box up there that it's not going to work.
Pathetic. Like, I imagine him like trying to throw a chair, but like it doesn't tip over right away, and he has to like try like 6 times because he's so old and feeble.
Well, that's what that one was.
Yeah, I think another thing to note is like not only is it having, is Daniel Jones like is confidence so just shot that he can't climb out of it. And it's affecting the offense. But I also think at this point over the 6 years, not that there's a lot of players that have been here all 6, I think the defense is to an extent is also conditioned to be like, once he starts playing that way, like there's no hope. So they play hard for a little while, and they're like, the other team is like, God knows what they're saying to those players on the field. If like this is how they're coming up after the game, like where it's hard to muster up. This is an excuse. You should play hard all the time, but still, like after this long of knowing exactly what's going to shake out, of course they're going to start letting up a little bit towards the end of the game. I don't know. Brandon Jacobs just tweeted that you have to support your quarterback and root for him. I was like, get out of here, dude.
I mean,
you would not be if you were on the team. If this was you, if this was Brandon Jacobs 15 years ago, you think he'd be chill with Daniel Jones?
No, I don't think so.
No.
And he went through some of the wilderness seasons with Eli when Eli wasn't good. Those first 2 seasons that Brandon was in the league, Eli was bad.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah. I think Brandon probably helped him by defenses having to put like 5 guys to tackle him, put them stack the box against him, then open up some passing lanes for him.
I'd love to hear more opinions from former players. I mean, like, yeah, you got people like that. I mean, who else has been tweeting besides Janoris and him? Not really anyone else. I mean, I know Carl Banks is having a hard time.
You said something.
Oh, I listened to the Carl Banks Bob Papa podcast, man. Carl Banks said that LT was like, I bet we could go in and play better than this team right now. which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then he's like the youngest guy on the line is 50 years old.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like Carl was so like that. There was a lot of spatting back and forth between fans and him on Twitter, and he was like fully all summer behind Jones. Fully, like you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. You don't know football. I do. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And then as soon as the game was over, he was just getting it from everybody. And I think it took him a little while to start answering. And I didn't even really dive in too much, but I'm like, what else did they say on that podcast? I'm curious because those are two very, very big homers that want to.
They both. I mean, I'm not going to repeat anything verbatim. Just two guys who sounded absolutely defeated and miserable like the rest of us.
Finally,
because they have to talk about this team for a living.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No.
It's like put these guys on suicide watch.
I mean, if it was the three of us getting paid a ton of money to do it, I think we could do it. It's not fun, but
that is true. I will do anything for money.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more opinions from more players, but I feel like everybody's just kind of like, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin my standing within the organization.
Is there any chance the Giants have a Monday night game this year?
Yeah,
I
can't wait. I can't wait to listen to the Eli Payton thing for watching Daniel Jones play if he makes it that long.
There is a Monday night game, and I can't remember who it's against. But
either way, that should be fun.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if you guys want to talk too much more about the game. Do you want to talk a little bit about
that? Should be not
Steelers.
zero.
Steelers. Yes, it is Steelers.
You want to talk about the Steelers?
No, it's the Monday night game.
I know. Speaking of which, Justin Fields might be worse than Daniel Jones. Did you see his passing chart?
No.
Yeah. There was not one ball thrown over the middle of the field the entire game. He only threw the outside.
I mean, I'd like to see Daniel Jones' passing chart because he might have thrown them, but I don't think he completed any over the middle.
I mean, if he did, he just was hucking them in the air, and the receiver had to, jump 20 feet up to catch it.
Is Bryce Young arguably worse than Daniel?
Yeah,
he had some bad throws, man. That game that looked bad.
I didn't.
Bryce Jones is also in year 2, though.
Yeah,
and that is 6th season.
Well, give him at least 12 more seasons. I'm sure he'll turn it around.
No, but they'll move on from him next year if he continues to play at this level.
You're right.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he's going to have to show something.
Yeah. I guess the only other thing to talk about, or I want to hear what you guys have to say because people are trying to make it a thing, is Saquon performing for the Eagles.
So my dad was just like, Saquon and Xavier McKinney are making Shane look like a real jerk right now. She was like, Dad, we weren't paying them. We were not going to pay them as much as that they got. I don't care what they do. Yeah. Let them be good. It doesn't bother me.
And also, do you think Saquon's going to score 3 touchdowns on this Giants team?
No,
it's not apples to apples. The assumption that Saquon is a difference maker on this Giants team is ludicrous. It's you couldn't have 2 different teams with 2 different setups. It's not even worth having that discussion with people, but people bring it up constantly. It's like the decision to move on from Saquon was the right decision, unequivocally.
100%.
You don't have to pay a guy $16 million a year to get blasted behind the line of scrimmage on a bad Giants team. What's the point? That money's better allocated to your offensive line, which is what they did. And the offensive line is better. But if they re-sign Saquon, then the line they have now wouldn't exist because they wouldn't have had the money to sign those players to make the line better for the running back run.
Yeah. So and then Daniel Jones would still suck.
Yeah. What's that, Colin?
And then Daniel Jones would still suck regardless.
Exactly. No matter what, Daniel Jones is going to suck. Yeah. We can all agree on that.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I like the mix of our running backs right now.
Me too.
They didn't do much, but I think they could have if we can complete more than 5 passes.
Yeah.
If they don't get into a position where they have to, throw 45 times a game, I could see them, having a quite a good rushing offense. But the problem is that if you're going to not be able to throw the ball at all, there's no way you're going to be able to run. They're just going to stack the box.
Yeah, I was happy with what little Tracy did. He was, kind of a surprise here and there. That was. I mean, Singletary did what I expected him to do, which is cool. I like that. I mean, I guess some of the things that what was Muasau? He had the interception. He didn't even think he was going to start. That was another thing that a lot of people are talking about. What was with some of the personnel decisions in this game?
There's no explanation for that.
I mean, Jalen Hyatt, I get it. Like maybe it made more sense game plan wise to have more of a heavy set sometimes, but like Jalen Hyatt had 4 snaps the entire game.
Well, Slayton played over him. Not even a heavy set. Like Slayton got his reps.
Yeah, and I don't really quite get that because it didn't seem like that's where it was going.
I think it might have something to do with this. Jalen Hyatt's number one attribute that makes him dangerous is the deep ball. And when you're not going to throw it over 10 yards, what's the point of having Jalen Hyatt out there?
100%.
Dable knows what's going on. Another way that he knows what's going on.
I literally think if he was out there, he could run, like just straight down the field, a fly, just right down the field, be wide open 30 yards, and they wouldn't even cover him because they know Daniel's not even going to try to throw the ball.
Yep.
I mean, how many times did we see that on tape last year of him just shrieking wide open and Daniel panic checking down and throwing at some guys? It's on film. It's not like a mistake. It's just he doesn't do it.
Shaq trying to like take a 3-pointer. There's no defender going up to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes.
The irony with that is like, you ever seen those videos of Shaq nowadays? He like shoots threes all the time because he's like so pissed off at people saying he can't do it. So there's just video of him old ass just throwing up threes. Stupid.
Yeah, dumb. I mean, okay, next week Washington. I don't know.
If he's gonna do something, it's next week.
Yes, Washington is traditionally when Daniel Jones has good games or good quarters, I should say, or good.
All right, here's the question: what is the excuse that the old Daniel Jones truthers would make if he loses Washington next week? What could they possibly say?
The defense. They'll blame the defense.
They gave up 6 points.
Yeah.
We should win with our field goal. That stat about him throwing more interceptions than touchdown passes over the past how many days?
More pick sixes than touchdown passes.
Yeah, more pick sixes. Yeah.
Since he signed the deal. I'm so glad you brought that up because what a wild stat that is.
I mean, granted, he was hurt for almost all of last season, but I mean, that's the only thing that's like the saving grace for him there.
Yeah. God. That stat was great. The wide receiver separation stat, our wide receivers had like third best separation yardage, and everyone else that was in the same category had like 75% completion rate. We had 52. I mean, it just backs up what we see. Like the throws are not on target. They're not. He's not making any catchable balls.
I mean, there's going to have to be a PowerPoint presentation being put together by Dable to show John in football terms. Here's why this guy sucks. Yeah. Besides what you see on the television, here's why, and here's all the stats. He's
this bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I don't know.
Horrible. All right. You guys got anything else today?
No, I think 42-ish minutes of
shitting
calm,
on Daniel Jones.
No, very calm.
Oh man, this is our wheelhouse, right? This is what we were made to do.
That's Dan. Yeah. Every time the Giants are bad, the only thing you think about is, you know what? This is the best situation for the Big Blue United podcast because we've never been in a position where we've been a winner, so we've never had to pod as a winning team.
Oh God!
Since we started it, we've only been bad.
That's going to be a nightmare that day when that happens.
The Giants draft a quarterback and he just like it's CJ Stroud, day one,
killing it.
And then we're just gonna be like,
no takes.
You guys remember?
Just be reading stats, just the box the box score. Yeah, he was 20 for 25 with 250 yards and 3 touchdowns. All right, next week.
That sounds good. Let's win. Let's win again.
Thank you for listening, guys. You can follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us, BB Podboards with the Z on Twitter. And we'll be back next week for some Washington action.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.